This is a very exciting moment. This is actually the first time in BATS YouTube/newsletter history we have a celebrity guest for our show. I want to welcome to the newsletter, Amos Glick, everybody.
Hi, thank you. Yes, but I really, calling me a celebrity, if you turn your head to take a sip of your Coke during WandaVision or sneeze or your cat crawls on your lap and you look down for a second, you're missing me. It's over.
I would argue you're missing the best part of WandaVision because Amos,
I'm a
BATS improviser, former mime trooper, former Jim Cranna classmate.
That's right.
Right?
Did we eat there? No, we didn't.
We probably did because there was about 400 people in the circle.
What about? Did you know? I'm totally going off topic right away, but Chloe Fineman. I found out about Jim Cranna's class from Chloe Fineman's father because her older sister was my landlord/roommate's housemate's best friend.
Okay, note that Amos earlier said that he's not a celebrity, but he's already name dropping.
No, I never met her. I never met her. But I love that someone from, I assume she went to Jim Cranna's workshop. How could she?
He talked about it in articles I read that she was there too.
I don't think I ever met her.
Let's start there. Let's talk a little bit about improv, in your life, in your acting, in your clowning, in your improv. Where did improv kind of fit in and how did you find it and what did it do for you?
Well, I mean, I think the first time I entertained people and realized that I was entertaining them and making like a big group of people laugh was consciously I was improvising at it was a paper bag skit night at my summer camp. I was 10 years old.
Yes.
And I improvised, never having tried to imitate her, but improvised a scene by Julia Child. And all of the counselors even went nuts. They were like, I was a mini celebrity for 24 hours at my camp. Amazing. But then I didn't really think about theater. I was not a performer at all in school. I did some plays, but wasn't seeking it out. And then when I got to college, I started taking, I took a Second City course at like a one-time workshop at the American College Theater Festival, ACTF. I was there I was a supporting actor in a competition scene, or someone was competing for an award, and I got to be their scene partner. And they had all these workshops. I took a Second City workshop, and I was like, I'm moving to Chicago after college. And then I think it was the next year, the next professor that came in and took over for the guy who was there the previous year started an improv group and class at college, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
Cool.
All very short form. We may have discussed the Herald, but we didn't even do that. It was all short form and games, and dubbing, like a lot of stuff that you would do in a BATS competition.
Yeah.
And
you've done a lot of different styles of improv. You've done short form, you've done long form improvisation, you've done musical improv.
Yeah.
Let's talk about musical.
And now clown. I mean, you improvise as clown, which is different. Although,
how does clown differ from improv?
Well,
and what elements overlap?
You improvise as a clown, but you're not telling a narrative story. It's all about finding a game, which you can also do that's an element of narrative improv, right? Where, like, for example, I'll bring up this because I just remember it, that like Paul Killam was in a scene. This is either BATS or True Fiction. I can't remember which. And he was making tea. And so someone off stage after the teapot had been on, and he made all the sound effects of clicking everything, of course, perfectly. And then he walks off stage, and then someone else off stage did the whistle, and then he went away, and then kept doing the whistle. So he's like, I must have not turned the stove off or something like that. But the point is that the improvisers found a game, and you do that with clown, but it's not necessarily verbal. It's not necessarily telling a story. It's about what's happening in the moment. So if you get heckled or something goes awry, you just pay attention and you are in the moment. And the purpose is to use humor but it's about, and there's probably, you know, certain amount of status work and stuff like that, but, you know, using the character that you have for that particular clown or your general clown character, you go out there and find games and most likely lose the game, especially if it's really um,
Did you ever have to drop the game and just be like, cut it out?
to who?
To the audience, if you were getting heckled or...
No, and not in. No, I never experienced that. I mean, you know, it depends what environment you're in, I would imagine. But in a nice big theater like that, people are pretty well behaved.
Nice. Okay.
Although I did hear some really good heckles.
Are we talking about your time in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done other clowning gigs, but that's the one that I did that for 9 years in a row, and it's the most recent. So it's like that's the one that's etched in my brain.
So I want to ask you a quick thing about that. So when you're doing, because you were a clown in La Reve at the Wynn Casino for a long time, 3,500 performances. And
That's
so
right.
when you are doing something like that, like a long running bit, you are an actor, you are a clown. Do you change it up? And if so, in what ways? And if not, how is it?
Well, no, it depends what show you're in and who your artistic staff is.
Mm-hmm.
You change stuff up, you're likely to get a note of like, why'd you do that?
Oh.
You're usually not that loud. Why, you know, and so that can become very challenging. And you are, you know, I think the big complaint by actor clown types who go into Cirque du Soleil is that they feel like they're just moving scenery and they become robots. And there's a certain amount of truth to that. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're stuffed, usually with clowns in Cirque du Soleil and other big corporate circuses, unless they hire a clown act to come in and do their thing, they start out with all this material and then winnow it down. And that's what happened to the Reve clowns. And I've seen it happen in other shows too. And so when I got there, there was so much fun stuff we were doing, a lot of interaction with the audience. And by the time I left, it was so rote and so pigeonholed into this little space. It was really horrible.
Totally. All right, we're getting near the end of our time. I want to ask you, so now you've left that, you're in LA, you're in WandaVision as Dennis the Mailman, you made your own short film recently. You're doing all kinds of great creative things. You're in a band still?
No,
but you've been in a band. Yeah. I guess the big question is how or in what way does improv still play a role in your life?
Well, I am an ongoing student, except for right now, because I can't do theater on Zoom. I refuse to. Apologies to all of you who do. I just don't like it. I don't really like watching it that much, and I don't like doing it that much. Although I will every once in a while. But I'm involved at Impro Studio, so I am an ongoing lab there.
Great.
Which is the performance. What do they call it? It's like it's a performing lab for students, whatever. So like the main company, you do a genre for 6 months and you study it. And then you do it, you perform it a bunch. And I love that. I love them. I was doing Sondheim when the pandemic hit, and it was really exciting and a great class, great teacher, and great keyboard guy who was doing it with us. And hopefully right when things get back up to normal, like maybe in the fall, we'll jump back into that class. Cause as I said, I do musical improv. That's my favorite to do. And Sondheim, I was like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to be able to do this, but you figure you figure it out.
You figure it out for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I definitely remember because you got into the company and you were there, and then you're like, and now I'm moving to Vegas. We're like, no, almost.
Well, and then I know that when I went, it was for a 6-week contract, and and they just kept adding a week or two to my contract for the longest time until finally I kind of walked in there all angry and was like, look, man, I got to figure out my life here. You got to tell me if you're going to keep me on or not.
Yeah.
But that was a big bummer because I really, really loved being in that theater and that theater company and doing the stuff with True Fiction.
Yeah.
In fact, right before the pandemic, I was about to have my second show of a format that I'm calling braided tales, which is essentially, with permission and also with kudos to in the program, to True Fiction for teaching me that. But it's basically that style.
Yeah.
I like that form the best because it's completely open. I like not knowing at all what I'm going to do. Whereas obviously when you're doing Chekhov or Jane Austen or whatever, you know, the group of characters you'll be choosing from and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, Amos Galik, for joining us.
See you guys.
So good to see your face.
We will see you. We will see you sometime. Anything that you want to promote before we go? You don't have to.
I'm not doing anything beyond. I got a day job and I auditioned. Maybe look out on my social media for Dennis the Mailman's response to all of the theories about
so many theories.
What people thought he was. He may be singing or talking about that at some time in the near future if I can get it together.
Oh,
yes,
that
please.
Gives me great joy. All right, thank you, Amos.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.
Come visit us when everything's back to normal.
I miss you, Bats. I miss everybody at Bats who I know, and the ones I don't know. Let's jam sometime.
Yes.